there's some news finally in the NFL draft order. The Chicago Bears did in fact trade back, and I guess the victor in this would be the Carolina Panthers obtaining the number 1 overall pick. However, they did give quite a haul to the Bears in return. So, Kyle, to kick this one your way, what are your thoughts on what Carolina had to give up to get the number 1 overall pick, and who you believe won this trade realistically?
For me, I think the Bears are the clear-cut, concise winner from this trade. Now, granted, the Panthers get the number 1 pick, but let's look at the trade details here. So the Bears, they get the number 9 pick in this year's draft. They also get the number 61 pick in this year's draft, so that would be late second round. Then they also get a first round pick for 2024, a second round pick in 2025, and then you get DJ Moore on top of it. I mean, to me, granted, the number 1 pick is the number 1 pick, but with what the Bears got in return from this trade, they're the winners to me. Because when you look at DJ Moore and how he brings another layer to that wide receiving core, I think that's going to serve Justin Fields very well going into next year. Because when you look at their wide receiving core for next year, just on paper, you're looking at DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, and Darnell Mooney. That's a pretty good trio of receivers to work with. Because let's face it, when it comes to Chicago's wideouts for the last couple of years, it's been abysmal. But this seems like a pretty solid wide receiving core that Justin's going to be able to throw to. The only thing for Chicago is can they bolster their offensive line to protect Justin better? And I will say, the fact that they still have the number 9 pick in this year's draft, maybe they try to address that. Maybe they try to address their pass rush, because when it comes to the Bears had one of the worst pass rushes in the NFL this past season. I believe they actually had the worst one. They only had 20 sacks as a unit this entire year, which is that is not a pretty sight. So, when it comes to Carolina picking up the number 1 pick to flip it to them, there's no guarantee that they're going to use this number 1 pick for something that they're going to use with the team. There are reports circulating that they're more than likely going to trade down with this pick to try to acquire what I would assume is more draft capital, kind of similar to what the Bears did. But I don't know if they're going to get as big as a haul that Chicago just got in this trade. Maybe a team would be suckers enough to trade up some picks to go to Carolina if some team were to agree to a trade here. But just based on this trade alone with the Bears and the Panthers, I think the Bears got this one in a runaway. It's not even close. But when it comes to the Panthers, I think the Panthers have some moves that more than likely that they're focusing on right now. They're not finalized yet. They're in motion still probably. They're probably working with some front offices to try to make some sort of trade happen with this number 1 pick that they now have in the foreseeable future. But with this trade between the Bears and the Panthers, the Bears got this one all day. So, Kev, I'll get this one to you from here.
I agree. The Bears definitely won this trade. I mean, just straight up off of getting DJ Moore. I mean, we've talked about what Justin Fields needs in this league for the last couple of weeks. And obviously, receiver depth, playmakers were one of the biggest focal points outside of the offensive line and some other pieces. So just in acquiring DJ, you immediately upgrade your roster. And you're still within the top 10 because, again, you're number 9. If I'm Chicago, I trade back again. I got a big piece now. I have a playmaker who's under contract. I have somebody that's going to make an immediate impact on this team, and I'm going to continue to build for the future. Again, you got that second round 2025. You got next year's first round pick. I mean, you got a second round pick this year, a first round pick this year. Like, you are going to be able to build so much with the amount of cap space Chicago has. Again, I'm not saying I would trade out of the first round, depending on what that haul in return would be again, but clearly the Bears have an idea as to how they want to go about this draft. Again, personally, I would go back one more time, go back into the late teens, early 20s, get some real good draft capital because people need a top 10 pick. There are a lot of teams that are desperate to go out there and get some playmakers. And I think that there are quite a bit in this draft, both on the defensive side as well as on the offensive line. There's some good prospects. And Chicago has handedly put their stamp on this draft without it even starting yet. And I think that what Carolina gave was a little bit too much. I'm not saying that a first round pick obviously isn't important, but for you to go give four draft picks and a star player, if not your best offensive player, is just it's a little weird for me. And for Carolina to end up wanting to trade back again, like just what was the purpose of giving up everything to trade back and reacquire it all? Unless you were trying to dump DJ's contract, which at this point, if you're in a rebuild, I don't understand what the point of that is because you're going to need somebody for your rookie quarterback, who I would assume you're drafting, since all you have is Sam Darnold on that roster. Uh, you know, is what you're going to need. So I don't know what Carolina's thinking. All I know is right now they're getting a lot of slander on Colts Twitter because, well, not me, but Colts fans are getting slander because Frank Reich obviously knows Carolina needs a quarterback. And them trading up into the first round makes me laugh because obviously that takes another quarterback off the board unless Indy were to trade up, in which I'm praying to God in this hypothetical that's in my head that we do not trade with Carolina to go to the number 1 overall pick, because then Frank's going to laugh and he's going to be like, I made you have to trade up. And you know what I mean? Just that I'm weird. That's how I think about things. It's probably not at all what Carolina's doing, but that's where my mind went automatically when I saw that they traded for him, traded up for that pick. So in terms of what Carolina did, I understand they if they do keep this pick, they need a quarterback of the future. We know that this is not a quarterback heavy draft, but the first 4 quarterbacks off the board will more than likely be within the first 10 picks, in my opinion. So there are also rumors, which are hilarious, that people in the Panthers organization are intrigued with Anthony Richardson and the potential of him being the first overall pick, which again, that makes me laugh 10 times harder because I feel like that would be very much like Frank Reich to make a stupid decision, but that would also benefit Indy. So we're never going to get that lucky. Um, so we'll see what happens. Again, the NFL draft is going to have a lot of narratives like this that are continuously circulating the closer we get to the draft. And of course, even on draft night, there's going to be a lot of pick swaps. There's going to be a lot of personnel trades. I mean, we saw A.J. Brown get moved on draft night. And we've definitely seen some teams make some crazy decisions on draft night to go out there and acquire some better pieces for their team to bolster it. But overall, I would definitely say that Chicago wins this trade, and based upon what they end up doing with the number 9 overall pick, I say this can even get that much better for them.